guys, welcome to the Homestead. We're in my kitchen today. We're going to talk about what I'm cooking over here in just a minute and also get into that app. You're not going to believe this. This is great stuff. But before we get into that, I want to let you all know we have this event coming up at Off Grid with Doug and Stacy's. In just less than 2 weeks, I will be there speaking. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a great time of friends, fun, and fellowship. I hope you can make it. There's still, from what I've been told, a few tickets available. Jump on the link below and get your tickets, and I'll see you there. It's going to be a fun time. I've had a great time with the last event I went to, and we got a couple events ready for this year. I'm going to be speaking on homesteading topics. There's going to be a whole bunch of people talking about a variety of topics when it comes to homesteading security, tinctures, medicinals, raising cattle, gardens and fruit trees and all kinds of stuff like that. So you're not going to want to miss this. Again, great time of fun, friends, and fellowship. I'm really looking forward to being there, and I hope I can see you there too. All right, but what am I cooking over here? Let's talk about that. All right, so I got up early this morning, and I put in 2 roast into this pot. Now, this beef was raised here on the homestead. We have a section of our property that is fenced off, and we allow some neighbors to put some small cattle on that piece of property. And they butchered one this winter, and that is what's in the pot right there. And so the cream sauce that I put in here is made up with some sour cream and some cream cheese, and this is going to be placed over some rice that will go with the dinner. And then I'll take a can of carrots that I canned this past fall off of my pantry shelf, and I'll add that also to the mix here in a couple of hours. But it's going to be a great roast, grass-fed beef, fantastic. You want to make sure you're getting whole foods, and so much of this right here was, from our homestead, including the stock that it is cooking in was from our chickens, our backyard chickens that we have here on the homestead. We save all of their feet when we butcher our chickens, and I make a fantastic chicken stock, and that is what is the base of this right here. So a lot of that is, raw milk, or, from the cream, or from the chickens, or from the beef. It's all from the homestead. A few of the spices, obviously, that I've added to this are not, but, for the majority of it, it is. So that's what I'm cooking in the kitchen right now. Let's go ahead and get back to my studio and talk about this app. All right, this is going to be a very informative video for you guys today. Before I get in to show you how this insect scanner app works, absolutely fantastic tool that you can use. Let's go ahead and get into why did we get here? How in the world did we get here? Let's go ahead and take a look at this article real quick, and then I'm going to show you how this works. This was published just the other day over at pjmedia.com. Private farms are disappearing and food crisis can ensue. Talking about government regulations have reportedly caused farmers to step away from their farms, their families that have owned for generations. As elites, Bill Gates, buy up huge amounts of farmland and private farming becomes more impossible, a deliberately triggered food crisis could occur. It says Western Journal just reported on the trend of farmland changing hands from farmers to multimillionaires like Bill Gates. Most globalists are Marxist to some degree. That is an obvious understatement. The Marxist communist dictators have long committed mass murder through manufactured famines. This is true. If you go back throughout history, you look at all these different communist regimes, the ones that were the most horrible, and they all started with, number one, youth, taking over universities and restricting the food. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening here. It's not these kids, these universities that are doing this. No, they're being egged on by the system. And at the same time, food controls are being implemented. It says farmers and ranchers are walking away from their families' land that their families have owned for generations. It says government regulations, elite infringement upon, and rising operational costs, taxes, and all kinds of other stuff that we've talked about before, are making it nearly impossible for American farms to survive. Foreign investors and wealthy elites are buying up the U.S. land instead, including, we know about Bill Gates and some of his buddies, and our greatest existential enemy, communist China. And a lot of states right now, my state included, are passing laws preventing anyone from these foreign countries or foreign nationals from buying the lands, buying companies. And we're seeing that more and more, so hopefully this is going to be slowed down a bit. Who knows? Food prices have already gone up significantly under Joe Biden and his administration's disastrous economic policies. All right, so the bottom line of this article is that farmers are closing down. They're shutting down. Okay, they can't stay in business. The regulations are getting too insane, and we're going to go show you some more of that in a minute. But I want to show you this. So I saw this on Twitter the other day. Someone mentioned it to me, and it was actually posted over at thelibertydaily.com. And the Liberty Daily had a link to this, and I downloaded it, and I went around my house. And thankfully, nothing came back, with a positive hit. But it works really simple. If you took this to the store, you're going to find all kinds of things. This is really simple to operate. So let me show you how this works. This is fantastic. So if you go up to settings, you can, number one, I had to change that from German to English because I think by default it comes as German. And it's got a few other settings in here. None of them are really important other than that one. And then if you go over here to insects, you can tell it what insects to look for, like house crickets, mealworms, migratory locust, grain mold beetles, scale insects, and shellac. So a lot of these things are used as different ingredients in your foods, common foods that you would normally see in the grocery store. A lot of name brands have these in them, and they're used for different additives. Mostly, a lot of times it's coloring. It could be red coloring or brown coloring, caramelized coloring, natural flavors, things like that. And so like for this one here, Acheta domesticus, I'm not sure what that one's used for, mostly like a protein powder, I think. But I know this one here is shellac. It's used for like, so like you get some of these candies out there like Skittles. Skittles was one. I used to like Skittles. But they started using this stuff on their Skittles along with some other horrible chemicals. But that shininess that you see on some of these candies, dude, that's insects. That's bugs. You will eat the bugs when you eat the candy. Most of those shiny candies, they're shiny on the outside because of the shellac. What's one of the other ones on here? I can't remember which one is used for color. I think maybe it's the scale insects. Dactylopus coccus. I think that's that second one there. Anyway, you can do your own research on these. But anyway, let's just say, for example, I don't mind the shellac on my candy. And so I can just, I'll be okay with that one. And you turn that one off and then you can scan for other things, But if you want them all on, which I would be, I'm like, I don't want any bugs. I'm not eating any bugs. So I have them all on, and I'll probably go the next time to the store. But anyway, how it works is I have, this is one of the things I keep stocked because I like to make stir fry Asian food, especially green curry. Check out our green curry recipe online if you want a good green curry recipe. Fantastic. The kids love it. My kids love my green curry that I make. And so that calls for some of this. So coconut milk. So what you do is you go back to the main screen right there. And you have a little scan button. So I'll hit the scan button. You're going to see the back of so I'll hit scan. No insects found. So it reads automatically very quickly the back and it says, okay, this is the number for that product. It has its own, UPC code right there, right? And so it scans the product and it gives you all the details about that product. And it says, oh, that's coconut milk and no insects found. Thank goodness, because I don't know, how would insects, what would they use it for? You never know these days. I posted a picture of a can of tuna on Twitter the other day. If you're not following me on Twitter, you need to be. And it had soy in it. Why in the world would they put soy in the can of tuna? It's just supposed to be tuna. You never know these days, so you got to check. And that's why something like that comes in handy. But let's go ahead and take a look at this article before we wrap up this video, because this is really important too. Now, you remember over in the kitchen, I was making beef. That's farm-raised, grass-fed beef grown right here on the homestead. And I also have in my freezer a side of a cow, or what's left of it, from a local, in the area, grass-fed farmer. He raises grass-fed beef. And so I buy locally from farmers in my area, and this is something you need to do too. It's going to be your only opportunity. And I'll get into that here in a second, but let's read this article. Let's identify imported beef, not just U.S. cattle. And it begins like this. Please be aware of the recent mandatory electronic identification, EID rule being implemented by the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, this is a rule. This means it's now law, even though they call it a rule, It's not passed by the United States Congress. It's not passed by your elected representatives. This is a bunch of bureaucratic morons who are unelected bureaucrats, and they have made a new rule that if you violate said rule, you will go to jail, even though the U.S. elected representatives and senators have not passed this rule. Current rules in North Dakota, anyway, already mandate all imported cattle into the state be identified, so it's really nothing new, other than the fact that now it has to be with electronical, why do I keep saying electronical? Readable tags, and it will be nationwide. Now the USDA will provide the tags free of charge, oh thanks, to jumpstart the efforts. Well, how long will that free of charge last? And when will that money run out for the free of charge? And most importantly, who will pay for that when the USDA no longer pays for it? In all reality, we're already paying for those tags and readers, except now it'll be forced down our throats, just like the mask mandate and quarantine during the pokey poke. How well did that fare? What do all these little ear tags mean? Those ear tags contain information of the farmer, of the cow, where it came from, where it was born. Registration leads to confiscation. It's as simple as that. Registration leads to confiscation. That's what's happening right now. This is all about, again, communist controls, controlling the food supply, and getting people into eating these bugs, and why apps like this are important. It's control of the food supply. And you need to make deals with your local farmers. Search out local farmers, buy from them, buy their chickens, buy their beef, buy their lamb, buy whatever, but buy locally from the farmers. At some point, these guys who are doing this commercial route of just taking animals to the sale barn, they're just not going to be allowed to do it anymore. The government will come in and say, you know what, we've got this whole cough, cough, sneeze, 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 sneeze thing going on. And, it's just a little too dangerous for you to be selling your product because it might be making people sick. They're just using this as an excuse to take away your food. Make deals with local farmers. Step outside of the system. That loophole might get closed down too eventually. But at least you buy your food a little bit longer and you have a better idea of where the stuff is coming from, so you don't have to rely on apps like this. Do you really seriously trust anything you buy at the supermarket these days? It's almost impossible. Even the meat. Oh, this is pure 100% grass-fed beef even on some products. Do I really believe that? I don't know, because I wasn't there. I didn't talk to the farmer. Me and him don't have this working and talking relationship in order to understand where my food comes from. Make that change. Seek out these farmers on Craigslist groups or on Facebook or Craigslist, whatever, and establish relationships with these farmers. You can even Google search. That's how I found one of the grass-fed farms in my area. I found them on Google. They had a little website. And I made a contact and talked to the guy over the phone. Fantastic guy, and I buy from him. Or if I'm not buying from someone else, locally here, like on my land. Use apps like this. You'll be at your local grocer checking things out, you might be buying, on the shelf, and some stalker comes up and says, can I help you? Because sees what you're doing, you're scanning stuff with your phone. Yes, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm checking to make sure I don't eat Z-bugs, because some of the products you're selling at your store contain Z-bugs. What do you think? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Again, check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. You can find our best-selling shirt, Stupid You Hurt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less people selling Z-bugs. And also make sure you check out the link for Off Grid with Doug and Stacy at the Homesteading Life Conference. It's going to be a fantastic time of friends, fun, and fellowship. I can't wait to go. We had a packed house last time. We're going to have a packed house this time. A lot of great topics talking about homesteading and gardens and fruit trees and nut trees and homestead security and all kinds of great stuff. Check it out. Link in the description below. Get your tickets if you haven't gotten them already. We got about 2 weeks before I'll be there. I'll see you there, hopefully. See you next time in the homestead. Bye. This is Grandma. Grandma survived the Great Depression. She survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. Grandma was smart. Grandma told us to make do with what you got. She also said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Homesteading is all about self-reliance and declaring ourselves to be independent from the system. We grow our own food, we raise our own animals, and doing these things helps safeguard our families from the unpredictable world that surrounds us. But what about banking? I love being my own power company, but what about being my own bank? Right now, our country is over $30 trillion in debt and rising. The Fed keeps printing money, and the Congress won't stop spending money. Staying attached to the modern banking system and their investment vehicles is like putting all of your eggs in one very, very fragile basket. On one side, you have the threat of inflation and your savings value floating away, and the other side is a possible deflationary stock market collapse, just like what happened in the 1930s. Genesis Gold Group is like a basket holding eggs, and these eggs are impossible to break. History shows us that all paper investments have and will return to their intrinsic value eventually, zero. But gold, silver, and other precious metals have never, ever been worthless. In every collapse throughout history, people have turned back to precious metals to find monetary value. If you have a 401k, an IRA, or a savings account where you're literally watching the purchasing power inflate away, give Genesis Gold Group a call right now. Today, this instant. They can develop a strategy for you in the days ahead. I can tell you how I raise sheep, I can tell you how I raise chickens, or the best way to grow tomatoes, or how to hook up a solar panel. But Genesis Gold Group is your best shot at safeguarding your hard-earned savings and investments during this increasingly turbulent time in history. The link and phone number is in the description below, or visit their website at genesisgoldgroup.com. And be sure to say you heard about them from An American Homestead. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.